My dear children, you see me wearing sunglasses, all of a sudden, and a dark armband. Some of you might be curious to know the reason behind my wearing dark sunglasses and the armband. Well, today, when I am going to turn our attention to an all new chapter of English literature, let me tell you that today I'm sad. I'm sad and I'm depressed and I'm ashamed of calling myself a human being. I'll tell you the reason why. A few days back, there was a pregnant elephant which was fed a watermelon filled with explosives and firecrackers. That elephant had a baby in her womb. She was hungry. Once she had the watermelon filled with firecrackers burst in her stomach, and we lost her. This incident happened in Kerala. Immediately, few days later, there was a little monkey which was hanged till death in one of the remote places of Tamil Nadu. What could be the guilt of such a little creature, my dear children? Well, the guilt was nothing. It was just stealing food from people's houses. Look at the punishment that was offered to this little child of God. Can we call ourselves human? Is this exhibition of humanity, my dear children? And that's the reason I'm sad today. As an ardent pet lover, I'm very sad. And I am wearing this armband to prophesize the prevention of cruelty to animals. It's a dark phase of humanity. And that's the reason I'm wearing dark sunglasses and I'm wearing this dark armband to tell the people of the world that if this cruelty to animals continue, we will not be in a position to call ourselves human beings. With that introductory note, I wish to introduce today's chapter to all of you, which is about the life of a horse. Yes, my dear children. Have you ever ridden a horse? Did you ever ride a horse? Okay. The name of the chapter is Black Beauty, and it's the name of a horse. This story has been written by Mrs. Anna Sewell. Anna was born in England. When she was young, she met with an unfortunate accident and she couldn't walk for the rest of her life. Back then, she used to travel in horse carriages most of the times, and that's the reason she was a lot into horses. And that's the reason this lesson is about the life of a horse whose name was Black Beauty. Before that, I wish to tell you about an idiom. I hope most of you have seen one of my YouTube videos during the previous lockdown, which was on the chapter of idioms. Well, as you know, when we talk about idioms, these are phrases or sentences, words in English, which have a deeper context. So, one of the idioms is to hear from the horse's mouth. Now, when you tell that we are hearing from the horse's mouth, does it literally mean that the horse is speaking? No. When you get information from a concerned person, that's called hearing from the horse's mouth. For example, English is my favorite subject. In case if you have any doubts, you would like that to be clarified by me as your teacher. So when Pratik sir tells you something or clarifies any of your doubts, that's called hearing from the horse's mouth. Means to get feedback or comments from the expert. Got it, my dear children? So you will come across this idiom when you read the first line of the story, to hear from the horse's mouth. Characters, let me introduce. I've already introduced you to the horse, whose name was Black Beauty. The horse's owner was Mr. Douglas, and both Mr. Douglas and Mrs. Douglas were very kind towards the pets. The third character was a builder, whose name was Sawyer. And the fourth and final character in the story would come at the end of the story, whose name was Captain Langley. He was a military man and he was Black Beauty's owner's friend. Okay. Some of the vocabulary, as I always introduce new words. Well, we don't have much of new words in this chapter, but then there are a few. First word is oppressed. Whenever you exploit someone or brutally treat someone, that's called oppressing that person. Okay. So oppressed means ill treatment or exploitation. Laden is to be loaded. Okay. Plunge. Now, in English, each word can have two meanings. One is the dictionary meaning and the other one is the literary meaning. Literary meaning means the meaning which has been given in the text. So, when you say I plunged into the river, means you jumped into the river. But here, plunge doesn't mean jump. You will see a horse plunged in the story. Plunged is to move forward suddenly, okay? So, to move suddenly. Fourth word is grieved. Grieved means something which makes you sad or worried, troubled. And the final word is regiment. As you all know, this is a collective noun. It comprises a group of soldiers. Now let me take you to the event flow chart. The story begins in a place in England called Birtwick Hall. There are many families in England still today which practice the culture of animal farming or husbandry. As you all know, these farms have got a lot of domestic animals and people rear them up for household commodities like milk, eggs, etc. Black Beauty was a part of this particular husbandry in Birtwick Hall, and very fortunately, both his master and mistress were very compassionate people. All the animals in the farm were happy for that matter. You would learn about the animals. If you go through the story, you will see it was not only horses there in that husbandry, there were donkeys, cats, dogs, and each and every animal were taken good care of. Now we move to an important part of the story when Mr. Douglas was riding Black Beauty one day and he came across one of the builders. His name was Mr. Sawyer and he was having a bay. I mean, he was riding a bay. Now, what is a bay? Bay is basically a horse with slender legs. Okay, it's actually a colt or a foal. It's a young horse which looks beautiful. Okay, so it has got a brownish or a reddish body and black mane. Now the hair at the back of the head of a horse is called the mane. You also have that for a lion, and the tail. So both of these were black. So it was a great color combination. The horse was magnificent. But you know what? When that horse was trotting with Mr. Sawyer, it actually remembered Mr. Douglas's husbandry. Why? Because Mr. Sawyer was a frequent visitor to Mr. Douglas's place. He used to visit Mr. Douglas's family because of business matters. And whenever he used to come, he used to get this little bay. Okay, so you see how intelligent animals can be at times. Okay, they have got their own memory power and they won't forget. Okay, so it so happened that animals are very intelligent. Based on this particular paradigm, this horse, okay, the one which was owned by Sawyer, remembered Mr. Douglas's house. It was supposed to travel in a straight road, but while trotting, the horse saw Mr. Douglas's husbandry and immediately turned towards that husbandry because it wanted to go to that place. And as you all know, Mr. Douglas was a very pet-friendly man. But Sawyer didn't want that to happen because Sawyer was on a business trip. He wanted the horse to trot straight, but the horse took a right turn all of a sudden, and due to his anger, Sawyer pulled the rein of the horse, okay, so bad that it hurt the mouth of the horse. You see, the rein is tied like this for a particular horse, right? So if you pull it very hard, it cuts the mouth and the horse starts bleeding. Isn't it torture? So when Mr. Douglas saw this happening, he immediately rode towards Sawyer and said, "Is this horse made up of flesh and blood?" And Sawyer said, "Oh, well, it is. It's made up of flesh, blood, and temper. Okay? This horse has got no values. Why did it take a right turn? Did I ask it to take a right turn? Why wouldn't the horse behave or obey my commands? This is the punishment that it gets for not obeying my commands." And this was told by Sawyer. Can you imagine what kind of a brutal human being he is? Let's move to another part of the story. One day, Mr. Douglas was again riding Black Beauty, and he came across one of his friends named Captain Langley. Captain Langley was a military man. Captain, okay, it's a position in the army. And Captain Langley had a pair of horses. Okay, so you can see that in the book, the photograph, you will see there are two horses, and both of the horses were very good looking. So just for the sake of validation, Captain Langley asked Mr. Douglas, telling, "Hello, friend, what would you say about my two horses? Don't they look splendid?" Mr. Douglas said, "Why do you ask me?" Captain Langley said, "Well, because in this part of the city, you are an expert in horses. So it's always good to have a feedback. How does my horses look?" So Mr. Douglas said, "Well, if you treat them well, I would say these horses are splendid, magnificent." So Captain Langley said, "Why do you say that? Why do you think that I don't treat my horses well?" He said, "Because the way you have kept a board at the back of the horses to tie them up, to one particular carriage, it seems as if you are treating them as the troops, as the soldiers of your army, asking them to have their heads up. Now, have you seen how soldiers march in a drill or a parade? Okay, so they pout their chest out and they march like this. Okay, and the heads are supposed to be held high because it's a matter of pride. So he's doing the same thing to the horses. Well, now, my dear children, are horses soldiers? They are animals and they should be treated with kindness. So it was a lesson, for Captain Langley. So Mr. Douglas said that only if you had set these horses free, I would have had respect for you as a captain. But the way you are treating with them, it seems as if you are giving them some commands for them to follow, asking their heads to be up. Because if you tie something at the back of somebody's head, can you turn and twist or rotate your head? You can't, right? How painful will that be? We shouldn't cage our pets. We should let them free because they are creations which do need freedom and respect. So that is how the chapter ends, my dear children. Captain Langley learned a lesson and he said, "Fine, I'll take your suggestion into consideration. Thank you so much." Black Beauty enjoyed every bit of his stay in Birtwick Hall with Captain Douglas, with Mr. Douglas and Mrs. Douglas. That is how our story ends. My dear children, through this story, I, Pratik sir, would like to give you a very important message that we need to treat animals with kindness. If we don't, we fall in our ranks as human beings. And trust me, in kindness lives godliness. Be kind, be polite, and be socially responsible, my dear children. Let us all promote the prevention of cruelty to animals. On that good note, I wish all of you to stay safe, stay home, enjoy literature. Until next time, Pratik sir bidding you goodbye. Thank you.